Hey there, Amy K here, 50 at 50, and we have a very in-depth email from Erin today. And my guess is we're gonna do Erin part 1 and Erin part 2 because there's a lot of stuff that we gotta unpack from her email. Hi, Amy K. Hi, Erin. Thank you for inviting me to join the masterclass. I registered in your launch last year and I got so much out of it. In fact, now that it's over, I want to sit through the recordings again so that it really sinks in. That is a fabulous idea. We go 90 miles an hour. We share so much that going back to the recording also at this point will help you hear things that you didn't hear when you went through the live program. I turned 50 in the summer of 2020. I struggle with, and she says in air quotes, enough versus giving up. When I was in my 30s, my mother was in her 50s, and she professionally plateaued at a controller position. At the time, I thought she was settling, getting complacent, lazily trading comfort for ambition. Spoken like a 20-year-old. Okay. She had a secure job, big house, nice car, kids were out of school. But what about what is next? Shouldn't you always be striving for the next rung? Let's talk about that. How depressing it must be to come to the realization that you have peaked, that this is as good as it gets. Oh, let's talk about that. Now, this email is 3 more paragraphs, but this is so much right here that I want to just unpack this a little bit. So, shouldn't you always be striving for the next rung? The next rung of what? If it's a corporate ladder versus your life and happiness ladder, then I have 2 very different answers. So, from your perspective, she had plateaued, or she had decided that what was bringing her happiness and joy was something different at that point in her life, or that she had nothing left to prove, or that she was tired and exhausted and wanted a different way to live that would again bring her more contentment and fulfillment. My question for you is, what do you think the next rung is about? So we do a lot of comparing, myself included, especially when we're younger. We're like, oh, but she's already over there and she's up there, and oh good, she's down there, I passed her. And that gives us a sense of identity and a sense of accomplishment. But here's what we don't do, and this is what society doesn't teach us to do, is, oh, she's content. Oh, she's content. Oh, she's on her path, and that makes her fulfilled and happy. This is my path. What makes me fulfilled and happy? I know that we all tend to think that more money equals happiness. It's just, I cannot tell you how wrong and backward that is. Yes, money will get you a certain level of physical comfort. It will give you access to things. Maybe it'll give you access to opportunities that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. But it doesn't give you access to fulfillment, contentment, peace, and happiness. You think it does, except that when you get a little bit more cash, you're still you with a little bit more cash. Then you're wondering what the next level of cash could do, or what the next little thing would be that would give you more financial security. And so I always say that the freedom and security that you think money is going to give you is something that you have to have right now. And then strangely, sometimes you end up attracting more money, but it doesn't give that to you. The second thing is how depressing it must come to the realization that you've peaked and that this is as good as it gets. That was your story, though. That wasn't her story. And I think that it's fascinating is when we talk about peak, how do we define that? Maybe it's the peak of, I got my kids out of the nest, I peaked in my mothering duties, now I get to kind of relax before I become a grandmother. Or maybe it's the peaking of exhaustion and grind. Maybe it's the peak of, I did that corporate thing and now I don't need to do it anymore. And so when you say that this is as good as it gets, maybe for this thing. So I've had C-suite titles. I've had the corporate. It wasn't my peak though as a human being. If anything, it was just sort of like the peak of an eye-opening experience. I was like, oh, I don't like this. So I think that we have to be very careful about how we're defining success for ourselves and really what it means to peak. Because I think that there is no final destination that means this was that culmination of the curve. I feel like our lives just keep doing this. And if you'll notice, my hand goes off the screen because it doesn't come back down. Part of that journey is just constant evolution. Now that's my mindset, but what's yours? And then lastly, well, actually there's 3 more paragraphs, but one of the other things that you say is It is occurring to me now that maybe she found the level where she was supposed to be. The controller position is where she thought she could be most successful and contribute the most, that the big house, the nice car, the educated kids were in fact enough. I think it depends on how you define happiness. And again, I think that I can look out and I can see younger women who are having more success early in their lives with maybe brand awareness or followers on Instagram, but that's not my path and that's not how I'm defining happiness. So when we say it's enough, we have to say enough for what? Enough for my mind, heart, soul, spirit? Well, then that's getting clarity and certainty about what fuels your mind, heart, soul, and spirit. And that's a very different journal and a whole nother video. But Erin, this was so provocative and there's still so much more to unpack. I can't thank you enough for writing in and sharing what all of us spend time questioning. Have we peaked? Is this enough? Am I good enough? Have I done enough? And the question is, it has far more to do with your fulfillment, your pleasure, your purpose, and that can shift through time and you don't have to prove squat to anybody. From my heart to yours, hugs.